Hey, what's up? Dave here with After VideoFX, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to part 2 for the Blender fluid explosion. Today we're just going to be compositing our render from Blender, and let me just show you quickly what our composite will look like. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that. So let's get straight into it. We've got a lot of steps to do. So we're going to go ahead and import our render into a new comp here. So here we go. That is our render. And I'll also import my background as well, just so we can have a look at it. Okay, so it is looking really bland and it's not much contrast to this. So before we get into that, we got to fix up the alpha of these edges here. So what I can do is create an adjustment layer, and we'll call this alpha. And then what I'm going to do is just duplicate it, put it on top, and what I can do is set track max to alpha matte. Sorry, I'm just getting used to 2023 After Effects here, and as you can see, nothing's happening. That's okay. What we need to do is just grab a curves adjustment on this, so we can just grab that, set to alpha, and I think I'll have to invert that, and we'll just play around with the contrast here. So if I just disable all this, hopefully we can get some contrast here going on, and we'll just get a fast box blur, and we'll just blur it out. Put this before the curves adjustment, and then when I add the curves adjustment here on my adjustment layer, we can just tidy up that alpha. So you can see here that I am subtracting the alpha. So this is what it looks like initially, and then as I subtract it, we're just further subtracting some of that, and then we can just blur it out as well. Okay, so to show you quickly, it's just blurring out that alpha. Okay, so like that. The reason why we do this because once we start adding some glow to it, it will add back that contrast or the RGB. Okay, now that that's done, we can go ahead and just pre-compose all of this, and we'll call this fluid alpha. I'll put tutorial so I don't get mixed up. Okay, so that is looking not too bad. Next thing we're going to do is maybe just add some contrast to this. So first thing we're going to do is maybe add an adjustment layer, and on my fluid alpha I'm going to add in hue and saturation, and then I'm going to add a curves and then another hue and saturation on top. So first thing I want to do is maybe just play around with the gradients of this. So I'm going to go into the red channel, just bring that up, saturation, bring the lightness down. Okay, and for the yellows we'll do the opposite, bring the saturation down and the lightness up, so it's looking a bit more white in the core temperature. And then we'll just play around with the contrast here a bit. Not too much though. Okay, and then for the yellows we might just push it further for the whites. Okay, so something like that. Okay, and then for our glow, we're going to add in an exposure effect, and then we're going to add in two, well actually we'll just add in one glow for now. just give that a bit more light to it, so maybe 0.5, and then we'll just add in that glow. So it's looking a little hectic at the moment, but that's okay. Okay, so I might just bring up the threshold here so it targets the tight areas. Spread that out to like 120. Okay, maybe set this to add, that's fine. Maybe go A and B colors, and then I'm just gonna pick like a warm color so that we get some nice gradients for our explosion here. Okay, so something like that. We'll duplicate it, and we'll double the actually, before we duplicate, we might set some keyframes first. So I might duplicate the intensity and the threshold here. And okay, maybe we'll just scrap the threshold. And then we will set a keyframe here, maybe around I'm gonna roughly estimate the 30 frame mark. And we'll just bring that back down to 0. And then Control C, and then where I want it to end. Maybe around here. It's fine, we'll just swap these so that it will maintain. And then over time, the gradients will disappear. Okay. And then we'll duplicate it. And then, so if I did you again, so I might spread this out to like 240. Maybe 300 is good. And then for this guy, I'll drop it down to like 0.7. And then for this one as well, 0.7. Okay. Delete that. Just bring that across. Okay, so it's looking not too bad, but it's too yellow. So we'll do that with the hue and saturation. And I'm just gonna desaturate the yellows here and bring the lightness up so it's a bit more white. Okay, maybe like minus 45. Okay, that is not looking too bad. We can always make some adjustments to this, but I think this is looking not too bad. Okay, so once we've done that, just pre-compose these again. Call this fluid explosion with glow shoot. Okay, now that we've got our fluid simulation happening, okay, so let's do some color correction first. So let's get 3 adjustment layers. So Control or Y for 3 times, and we'll call this color correction. Call this vignette, and then this last adjustment is the heat distortion effect. Okay, alright, so we'll do the color correction. So let's just add in a curves adjustment and just play around with a little bit of this contrast. Like that, and we'll add a tint. We'll desaturate that like 15%, like 13. Okay, vignette, and then we will subtract it, hit F, feather that out to maybe like 550. Okay. that. We'll add a heat distortion effect. Okay, and the bias. This is optional, you don't have to do this, but I'm just adding it to add a bit more detail to it. Noise, make it like 20. 15. Okay. And I want it to start from this area. And I'll just shift the anchor point. Oops. Actually, that should be alright. Then mass path. And then we'll go into the 60 frames. Just expand this. And then go 120 again. Just bring that up. Expand this a little bit more. And then go to the end. Just bring that out. Hit F, and then we'll feather those edges out a bit. Okay, I might just bring this back in a bit, like that, and it's looking a little too intense, so I might drop it down a bit. And heat bias, maybe like 0.75. Okay, so that is looking not too bad. Alright, cool. I'm just going to turn these off for now because it's a little annoying. Alright, so let's go ahead and just play around more with this color here because it's looking... I think we could do one final adjustment to this before we can be satisfied with it. So I'm just going to go with a red. Let's just add some red back in. The yellows. A bit more white. Okay. I might put the master. Might just add a bit of hue and saturation. Maybe just a touch though, maybe like 4. Okay, so that's not too bad. Might just color correct this to yellow. Okay, cool. So we can now go on to creating like a luma matte, or I would say in like just like a little matte for having the highlights for camera lens texture. So what I can do is I've got this camera texture here. So if I show you quickly, that's what it looks like. And then if I can just maybe add in a motion tile, I'll move the edges. That is looking pretty good. Go 200. Oops. Okay. And then we just add in a color correction again. We'll just brighten up. Okay, and we'll add in a bit of red. Take away some blue to make it a little orange. Okay. And I'll duplicate this, put it on top, and then if I solo these two just for a moment, I'll choose my glow matte and we'll choose matte. Okay, so it's not looking what we want it to look like. That's okay. We can fix that. Firstly, I want to isolate the luminance of this, so I can get a color key and just start isolating the gray out. So just do that for a bit. So just give you a minute. Okay, so after some time, I kind of just did my best to isolate just the orange or the luminance of this. So those are all my color keys for how I isolated it. It's not the best, but that's okay because it's going to be used as a luma matte anyway, so don't worry too much about it. Let's just go ahead and just get a exposure effect. We'll crank that up to like 4, and then we'll get a glow, and we'll just have to isolate that glow. Let's change it to A and B colors. And then something like that is okay. Duplicate it. Make it a bit more tighter. And duplicate it one more. Okay, so if you think about it, we've got this weird glow that is happening. So if we set this to, to my matte, you can see that it's kind of shaping what we're trying to achieve here. I'm just going to make sure it's using the luma matte. Okay. And then this glow is driving to reveal what the image will look like. So that's looking pretty cool. I might just turn down the opacity here to make 50%. So it's looking a little just subtle, that's all. Okay, maybe I'll turn it back 75%. Set this to screen. Okay. Alright, that's looking not too bad. And we can just play around with the contrast of this. So to it. And on sharp mask. Cool. Alright. That's looking very nice. Okay, so one last detail that I can add is adding some sparks to this. So I'm not going to go too detailed on how to composite the sparks because I've done it so many times, but I'll just show you how I composite. You can composite like one set of sparks. So okay, so I use this guy. So we'll just put it in here, and then nope, that's the wrong one. I think it was slow sparks. Yeah, that's the one. Okay, so how do we composite this? So we'll first change this to screen. That's a start. And we'll make sure it's on top. And we want to get this timing right. So I want it to happen on this first. Let's go with this second blow here. So just on this one. So we can just lay it down here, and then we'll just mask that out. You know, I've been learning Nuke, and then I forgot how to I think I took advantage of the masking tool, and then because like now in Nuke you have to make a roto node, and then you have to combine that with a merge node, and you got to set the merge node to mask, and then you got to use another merge node to composite on top of your live action footage. So it's a bit of a process, but I think I can understand why, how Nuke is powerful and it's mainstream in the industry. But I still have my feelings for After Effects as well. So I like to use both softwares just to expand my skills, but Nuke is also good as well. Okay, so we're just going to scale this down. And if we could just time it right. So then an explosion happens. Okay, and I might speed these up a bit. Speed it up by 80%. And then I'll just cut it here. Okay. So I want it to composite on top of this explosion. So that's a bit tricky. So scale it down to like 50% once, even smaller. Okay, I might set this to red because I'm getting confused of what color coding is. It's just kind of lagering on. And then what you can do is add like a mesh warp, and then you can like actually like distort it. So number of columns, I might halve this. So I just okay, and then you can even add like a glow to this. Alright, cool. So let's just check this out. I'll put out full res now. Okay, let's check it out. Okay, it's not looking too bad. This heat distortion, I definitely want to feather out more, to maybe like 100 pixels. And then I want to just like adjust that distortion amounts because it's a little too much. So maybe like adjust the scale a bit, like 150. And then what else can we do with this? My glow here, I might drop it down to like 1.5. Okay. Alright, that is looking not too bad. Optionally, you can add like a flare to this, so I'll just copy from my original to here. This is optional, you can add one if you like. I personally, after giving it a go, I didn't like it, so I just turned it off. But if you want to add a flare, by all means, you can go ahead and add a flare. But I think it just worked out for me for how I liked this. Okay, but other than that, that's pretty much how I composited this Blender render. You can modify if you want, or you could just make your own creation. With these sparks, I had 3 duplicates, so this was just one of them, and then you can just change it however you like. It's up to you. Be creative, and then just go for it. Anyway guys, that's it for the tutorial. My name's David. I hope you learned interesting techniques that you can use for your own creations. Please give a like if you like this video so people can find it. Subscribe if you want to see more, and be sure to hit that bell button to get the notifications. And comment down below if you have any questions. And I will see you in the next tutorial.